It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. So glad you could join us. Again, a reminder, Ron Futrell from Channel 8 is going to be in studio tomorrow. Michael Avenatti in studio on Wednesday. And great guests lined up the remainder of the week. And, of course, the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation, 257-5396. We got Chris Wynn in studio. So a lot has been made of this Pete Buttigieg town hall, which happened yesterday in the wake of an officer-involved shooting in South Bend. And I do give Pete Buttigieg credit for stepping away from the campaign trail, going home, and addressing an issue that's obviously a very serious issue. Now, there's a couple issues here. First of all, let's get to some important ones and the reason why there's so many African Americans in that town that are so upset besides the shooting, which I'll get to in a second. South Bend Police Department, almost 90% white, despite the city being 40% black or Hispanic. I believe they fired the police chief there, happens to be an African American. That's another issue. Now, with that being said, yes, Pete Buttigieg has owned up to that. He has failed in that aspect of having a diverse police department. But let's talk about the shooting for a second. Saw the same thing happen in other parts of the country where you'll see a shooting happen and then people rush to judgment.
Right.
Okay? Now, I'm not saying that happened here, but what I am saying is this. What police are saying is that they responded to a call of a man that was breaking into vehicles, breaking into cars. He gets into a vehicle. He doesn't respond to commands from the police. Again, this is what police are saying. And then the police officer that shot him is claiming that he wielded a knife at the officer. If that's true, man deserved to be shot. Don't feel bad for him. Feel bad for his family. Don't feel bad for him. Another big issue here, guess what? And this is a huge issue, and Pete Buttigieg is taking heat for this. Police officer did not have his body camera on. If the body camera was on, this would be an open and shut case. And if that's exactly what happened, there would be no issues here. It would have been justified, and it still might have been justified. We don't know. It's what an ongoing investigation is called. We don't know exactly what happened. Now, does that mean that there haven't been police officers out there that have broken the law or maybe committed crimes, and even with the investigations, they haven't been found guilty? Yeah, I mean, that does happen from time to time, no question. Is there racism out there? Absolutely. But Pete Buttigieg comes home and does his job as the mayor, and I give him credit for that. Now, he has made a lot of errors and you know, when it comes to diversity and that sort of thing. And the body camera issue is a big issue.
Would you call it errors, though? I mean, it's not like he's been mayor there long enough to make an adjustment when it comes to the ratio of police officers.
Well, Chris, he took ownership to that. He took ownership to it. He admitted he made some mistakes. So, but here's my big issue with some of the people that are in the crowd there. He shows up at this town hall meeting. He's there to answer questions and make some remarks. And I thought he spoke very eloquently, regardless of mistakes that he may or may not have made, Chris. That's beside the point. What I'm trying to say is there were some idiots in the crowd, and I understand some of them are angry. I get that. Maybe they have been the victim of, you know, I hate to say police brutality, but it does happen out there. You know, the majority of cops are great people. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that. Maybe they've been victims. But you're going to scream and yell not only at Pete Buttigieg and cause a scene and act like a buffoon, but even some of the people that were trying to speak, they were arguing amongst themselves and screaming and hooting and hollering. What good is that going to do? It does absolutely no good. It was absolute clown session down there. Regardless of mistakes that were made, these people don't know exactly what happened with this shooting. Now, maybe there have been some injustices in the past. Maybe they've been victims of it. I'm not going to dispute that. It happens. I've seen it with my own eyes. But showing up at a town hall meeting and screaming and hooting and hollering like you have an IQ of 20 is not going to get anybody anywhere. That's not going to change policy. That's not going to get things done. Now, there were some people there that spoke very eloquently. Yes, they were emotional, but they weren't interrupting others. They were very respectful, and I give them credit for that. But there were also people there that were acting like idiots. Now, we've seen that at political rallies. We've seen that at town halls everywhere. But this is such an important and a very important issue. And you're doing an injustice to yourself and others in the community by acting that way. And I really do believe some of these people acted like complete morons. And we'll open up the phone lines. I want to get your thoughts on this, Chris. Phone line to call is 257-5396. Again, that number to call, 702-257-5396. By the way, the gentleman who was shot and killed, his brother saying that many in the community are worried that Buttigieg and the police department will let the shooting blow over. No, I don't think that's going to happen. It's what an ongoing investigation is, so he's wrong. He went on to say, we just want the truth. Well, if you just want the truth, then why don't you let the truth come out in the investigation? I understand this man is emotional. I get it. He just lost his brother. It's a terrible tragedy. But if his brother is the one that deserved to be shot, I hate to point it out like that, but if you're dumb enough to point a knife at an officer and not comply, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to be 6 feet underneath the ground. You're going to be shot.
And to add some context to what the atmosphere was like in that hall, Brian, of course, I looked at a number of media outlets, but I'm going to refer to Matt Pierce, who did a great article at the Los Angeles Times talking about this. He said Buttigieg was solemn, sober, and circumspect as he tried to explain how the officials will investigate the shooting. He also pointed out, too, Brian, that he would ask the Justice Department to review the case and for an independent prosecutor to decide whether to prosecute. This, of course, gets it outside of the spectrum of just in South Bend, because people are critical. A lot of the black residents there have been critical of Buttigieg, being just the guy overseeing this. They think that he has some type of bias, and obviously there was a largely black audience in this hall, and they shouted out things like "We don't trust you." And had that. So, yes, they have kind of an image of what they think happened in this case. Now, look, as you pointed out, the facts have not all come out. We don't know exactly what happened here. So I would expect that we eventually will. But there is a larger issue here, Brian, that around Mayor Pete, and that is his ability to attract black voters, right? His ability
Which he's failing
to
right
attract African-American voters.
Yeah.
This is what is really the crutch issue for him when it comes to his presidential campaign. We understand this is a South Bend, a localized issue, but that is what a lot of Democrats, as they look at going forward and look at his political future, like, hey, how are you going to get more black voters? That's what you need to do.
All right, I agree. Let's take some phone calls on this one at 257-5396. Let's go to Brian. Brian, what's up?
Precisely what you're saying is I agree with 100%. And the question is, what kind of black voters does Mayor Pete want to attract? Does he want the radical Black Lives Matter kooks that are like most of the people holding signs in that crowd that were shouting him down, being disrespectful, not letting him finish his sentence, that want to stir things up without knowing what happened? Or is it somebody who is a free thinker who's going to sit and watch what happens after the investigation and then hold people accountable? Now, just a week ago, 10 days ago in Memphis, Tennessee, was a similar thing that happened, except it wasn't a 54-year-old guy with a knife. It was a 20-year-old kid with a gun. And they rioted in the streets for 3 nights in a row. 36 police officers were injured on the second night of rioting in this instance. They burned tens of thousands of dollars worth of police cars, broke windows,
disgusting.
Damaged the city.
Well, let's go to Ferguson.
What happened? Do you know what happened in that story?
What happened?
This was a young man, 20 years old, who had a record. He went into a neighboring state and answered an ad to purchase an automobile in Mississippi. Well, he took a gun. He shot the owner of the car 5 times and stole his car, drove back to Memphis. Well, as it happened, the United States Marshals were in town effecting warrants on high-value targets, violent criminals and felons who were on the run. And so they got an APB about this car. Well, they saw the car. They pulled the car over. They boxed the car in. The kid started ramming the United States.
He's a criminal. Dave,
his car,
Brian.
Okay?
Brian, I'm going to sorry to cut you off there, but it's just one word, Ferguson. Okay, everybody rushed it.
Precisely.
Okay, so let me give you both sides, Brian. Hang on, Brian. Let me give you both sides. That's okay. Let me give you both sides. Okay, so you're right. Ferguson is a perfect example of that, right? Where people rush to judgment. That officer, based on the evidence, did nothing wrong. His life has changed forever. That young man who died was a criminal who attacked a police officer. And Barack Obama, I criticized Obama for that. For
sending a contingency out there
now,
for the funeral.
But Brian, you have to admit, on the other side of that, I don't think that police officers are just going to kill innocent African Americans at a large rate, because the facts don't back that up. However, with that being said, there is racism out there in the world. Obviously, you would agree, and unfortunately, there is a small percentage of police officers are unjustified in the way they act. And it is so important that if they do act improperly or break the law, they have to be prosecuted for that. Now, we don't know what happened in this specific case, but I will agree with you. Many of these idiots that were at that town hall meeting acting like 8-year-olds It's going to get nobody anywhere. And I agree with you. I thought that not all of them were doing that. So I'm not going to sit here and say
no. I agree.
Yeah, not all of them
There
are Black Lives. Yeah. And just because you are in the Black Lives Matter movement doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to act like an idiot. I think some of those people have the right intentions, not all of them, but some of them.
Let's go back to the last election. Remember what Bernie Sanders said? He said all lives matter, and he was excoriated by Black Lives Matter.
Which is
that
ridiculous.
goes without saying. Well, look, all lives matter. That goes without saying. That's like Captain Obvious, okay?
Yeah,
I mean, yes, all lives do matter.
But you can't say that anymore because of this perceived notion that we don't care about Black lives.
Right.
Well, I got news for you. I showed you the lady on the picture at the Rodizio Grill that stayed in my house for you. I care about all people.
I understand, Brian.
That doesn't matter to me.
Brian, I understand that, and anybody who rushes to judgment and assumes that anyone who is not black doesn't care about black people, that is let's just call it for what it is, Brian. That's a racist in themselves, and I'm sorry, but I have no tolerance for people like that. Nobody should. Brian, thank you for the call. It's always good to hear from you, my man. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
702-257-5396 is the number to call. Dave, I believe Dave is next. Thank you for calling in. What's on your mind, Dave?
Hi, Brian. I just have a thought, and that is that we need to bring civility back in America, and I think it's really the president's job to do that, and to bring the idea that we listen to each other and we respect each other and all of that, because we don't have that anymore. And I'm old. I'm 68 years old.
That's not old, Dave.
We did at one time in America.
So you think about civility, right? You mentioned that word, and you mentioned discourse here in America. Do you think that the President of the United States, who's at the top, who sets the tone, is doing a good job being a positive part of that, and someone who is kind of like bringing that message?
Well, I'm a Trump supporter, but I would agree with you that he has done not as much as he could, and certainly has failed in some respects. I guess if you're a billionaire, you just say whatever you think,
Well, yes and no. I could name you a few billionaires out there that are not certainly. Okay, let me put Mark Cuban out there for a second. I like Mark Cuban. He leans on the right with a lot of issues, on the left on some others. If Mark Cuban, I'm going to take the news from today, okay? If Mark Cuban was accused of rape, do you think the first thing out of his mouth would be, "She's not my type"? You see what I'm getting at, Dave? Like, just say, look, it's not true. She's a liar. That would be a normal instinct, right? She's a liar. Yeah. I'm going to go after her for defamation. He says she's not my type. You want to talk about leadership, Dave? I just think this president has a mental illness. There's something wrong with him. He can't control himself.
Well, I really think I really hope he comes around. I'm a Trump supporter, but I really hope it comes around. We really need to bring back civil discourse in this country.
No, I understand, Dave. I don't disagree with you, but I'm going to be honest with you. Once again, when Donald Trump was elected president, I told my friends, Chris, I told you this, and I think you were kind of on board with me. I said, I think Donald Trump is going to tone down the rhetoric. I saw that I saw that visit to the White House he had with Obama after he was elected.
When he looked scared, when he looked like he was in shock.
But he also looked like he was toned down a little bit. At that point, I said, I think we hopefully will see a different Donald Trump. I think he's going to be a little bit more presidential and tone it back a little bit now that he was elected. Dave, guess what? I was wrong. He's gotten worse.
Yes.
I would agree with you to some degree, Brian, but I just would like to see. I would like to see all the leaders in America come to and say, let's have civil discourse, because we don't anymore.
Well, you're right, Dave, and it's not just you're right, Dave, and it's not just. And by the way, we appreciate the phone call. It's not just politics. I think it's in society, but especially in politics. It's the reason why things don't get done on both sides of the equation. Number to call if you want to be a part of the program: 257-5396. Again, that number to call 702-257-5396. We're talking about Pete Buttigieg and this. I guess I would call it a disaster of this town hall meeting where an African-American shot by a police officer. We don't know exactly what happened, but we certainly know what police are saying, that this man yielded a knife and did not comply and was shot and killed. And now everyone's, assuming that because the officer was white, must have been racial connotations. If it was an African-American police officer, I wonder what they would be saying about that. And I also want to get to this war tax story real quickly, if I may. And we're taking your calls on that, Pete Buttigieg, at 257-5396. This is driving me crazy. Okay, I'm not a Better O'Rourke guy. I never have been. I never liked him for a number of different reasons. I just don't like the guy. I think he's phony. He oozes phoniness, in my personal opinion. Silver spoon in his mouth. He was raised by a lot of money growing up. And I'm sorry. It's just my personal opinion, Chris. I know you're shrugging your shoulders and all that. I don't like, but here's something that backs up. I think this is utterly ridiculous. Better O'Rourke says that he wants non-military households to pay a war tax to help cover the health care of veterans. Now, listen, if you are a decent person, you want our veterans to be taken care of. I'm certainly one of them. We appreciate the service. They're heroes as far as I'm concerned. But do you really want to go after families that have not served? What about the richest people in this country? What about people like Donald Trump who have bypassed the military and lied about, his bone spurs, for example? All the tax breaks for the rich. Do you really want to charge families who are not in the military a tax for not going into service? I think that is completely the wrong way to go about it. I think he's wrong. He's calling for an end to the wars, by the way, in Iraq and Afghanistan. I would agree with that. And he wants half the money currently being spent there redirected to programs for veterans. Okay, I'm for that. I agree with that. But here's what he wants. Let me propose the money figures here. If you have nobody in your family that's served, households making less than $30,000 would pay $25 a year. Those making less than $40,000, $57, $50,000, close to $100. $75,000 would be $164. $100,000, $270, and if you make over $200,000 a year, you're paying $485. Now, to some people might say, well, that's next to nothing. But it's not. I mean, to some families that are making under $30,000 a year, $25, $57, that's a monthly bill that maybe you would have paid. And look, again, make no mistake about it. I want these veterans to be taken care of. But the money should not be coming from families that are making under $30,000 a year. That is ridiculous. Charge $25 a year to families that are making at least six figures a year. At least six figures a year. There's plenty of them out there, okay? But this tax of under $30,000, I'm sorry, I'm just not for it. I think when we start taxing people for not serving in the military, I think that is a dangerous zone we are getting into, Chris.
Well, I disagree with it, Brian, for another reason. I think it's just an alternative funding stream for the military, and I'll tell you, and this is why.
And you served.
No, well, I'll ask you this question, very simple question, okay? When it comes to taxpayer dollars that comes into the United States government, what do you think the percentage is that the military gets, the Department of Defense gets?
I don't know, you tell me.
50%. 50% of tax money is already going to the military, is already going to that aspect of our society. Mm-hmm. So to me, I think this is just unnecessary as far as Beto O'Rourke. Look, I get it. You want to give that impression that you're pro-military, right? That you're on board with our vets, and you want people to be taken care of that have fought for this country valiantly, and I get that. Okay, but this is just an alternative way of getting more money out of Americans, and you pointed out some of the negative aspects of it, given that you're basing it on people because they didn't serve in the military. I mean, that makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. No. So to me, it's just another way of getting money out of Americans when there already is a significant amount of taxpayer dollars that goes to the military.
Look, Beto O'Rourke has absolutely no chance to win in the Democratic Party. He has literally no chance. I could name you 8 or 9 candidates, in my opinion, that have a better chance than Beto O'Rourke. So that's number one. Number two, to punish families who have not served financially, completely ridiculous. And we're entering the danger zone. I don't know. Maybe some people out there disagree with us, Chris. You could give us a call on this. Maybe you are for this war tax that Beto O'Rourke is proposing. I just think it's absurd. The number to call if you want to be a part of the program, 702-
I'm just wondering whether or not Brian Shapiro has a Beto O'Rourke dartboard at his house that he's throwing darts at, because he's got not a lot of love whatsoever for the Texas Democrat down there.
I don't.
He is hugely popular in a state that has been red forever, Brian.
Yeah, I don't.
And there's kind of a method behind that madness.
Let me give out the number one more time. 702-257-5396. Again, the number to call if you want to be a part of the program, 257-5396. Let's go to Gary. Gary, what's up?
Hey, are you there?
No, I'm not here. No, Go ahead.
I just want to talk about, for a change, I might sound like a communist right now, but I really don't like billionaires, especially. In fact, I'll even go this far. You know I'm a Trump supporter, but I think maybe he is crazy. I think all billionaires are crazy. In fact, I think that the Medical and Mental Association of Psychiatrists should list anyone with more than $15 billion must be mentally ill. And
well, here's the deal,
really,
Gary. Here's the deal, though. If you got more than $1 billion in your bank account, you're not crazy. You're just eccentric. Okay. There's different words that we use.
I don't want to take the money away from them and tax them and be a leftist, but I really think they should be embarrassed. I wish President Trump would send out some tweets. Hey, guys, with all the billions, could you spare $1 billion here or there? We got all these kids sleeping on the floor. Congress won't cooperate with me. I need a wall. There's so much money in this country, and every other conservative radio show is bragging about what a Judeo-Christian great country this is. All I hear about is all this mergers and billions here and billions there, and it's annoying the hell out of me. And other than that, I agree with you, except for one thing tonight. They're not acting. A lot of them are idiots, unfortunately. So
well, I don't know if we disagree on that or not, Gary, but I always appreciate the call. Good to hear from you. Thank you very much. 257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 702-257-5396. Boy, we have tackled a lot of issues today, and, of course, talking about the alleged allegation that Donald Trump is a rapist, and then his first reaction to that is, she's not my type. Of course, we talked about the detained children at the border, the horrific conditions out there. I think they do need soap. Yeah, they do need toothbrushes. But some people in the Trump administration, some attorneys disagree. So we're taking your calls on that. Pete Buttigieg, what a disaster that took place over the weekend in his hometown. And this new war tax by Better O'Rourke is completely and utterly ridiculous. Taking your calls on that as well. Love to hear from some veterans out there. What do you guys think about this? We all want you guys to be taken care of, but the way Better O'Rourke wants to go about this is completely the wrong way. Again, that number to call, 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Damon. Damon, what's up?
Hello?
Yes, Damon?
Yes.
What's on your mind? How old are you, Damon?
Trump is the best president ever.
Damon, how old are you? Damon.
17. I'm 17.
Are you really 17? You're post-puberty, Are you sure?
Yep.
So your father told you to call into a conservative radio station and say, I love Donald Trump. Is that true? Damon, what do you think about Barack Obama?
I love Donald Trump.
Damon,
He's the best.
Damon, what do you think about Barack Obama? And don't look at your dad. What do you think about Barack Obama?
Barack Obama is the worst president we've ever had
put
in
your
the
son.
history of the country.
I want to talk to your son. I don't care what you have to say. Put your son back on the line.
Okay.
Thank you. Don't give your phone back to Dad because your dad's a phony. Thank you. Okay, Dave.
Do you like Hillary Clinton? How is Hillary Clinton your favorite presidential candidate
no, she's
ever?
Trash. She's garbage.
Okay, what do you think about Barack Obama?
He's garbage too.
So is
Worst ever.
okay? So are those? So what do you like about Donald Trump? Don't listen to your dad. I want to know, Damon. What do you think about Donald? Why do you like Donald Trump so much?
Can you say that again, please?
Don't listen to your dad, and I'll say it again. Do we have a deal?
Don't look at me.
Damon, are you in a
There's
car?
no way Damon's 17,
Hold on.
by the way.
Damon,
There's no way.
are you in your house or are you in a car?
In a car?
Okay,
Yeah.
so I want you to look away from your father right now. Don't look back. By the way, I don't think you're 17, but that's okay. We'll just take it at that. Damon, why do you like Donald Trump? Give me a few reasons why.
Because my family likes him.
That's not a good reason, Damon. You got to learn to. Let me ask you a question, Damon. When I asked you what type of food you like, do you only like the food that your family likes? Don't listen to your dad. Tell your dad to be quiet. Right now on the air, I want you to tell your dad to be quiet. Can you do that right now? I want to hear you say it.
I'll be quiet. He's the one that wanted to call.
No. Damon, I want you to tell your dad to zip it.
Okay.
Lower the radio, too. Tell your dad to lower the radio. Tell your dad there's a 5-second delay in radio. He should know better. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Now I want you to say, Dad, be quiet. Say it.
Dad, be quiet.
All right. That was fantastic, Damon. I'm proud of you. Okay. Damon, why do you like Donald Trump? Now, if I asked you what your favorite food is, you don't like the same food that your family likes, right? You like the food that you like. So I want your opinion, Damon. 17-year-old Damon, even though I think he's 12. That's fine.
Yeah.
Damon, why do you like Donald Trump?
Because of immigration and stuff.
Oh, your dad just told you that you're cheating. Give me another reason. Don't look at your dad.
I'm not.
All right.
You can say his hair's great. You can say, he has the hottest wife ever in the history of the presidency.
Well, don't listen to Chris. That's not appropriate. He's 17 years old. That's not appropriate. 12.
He definitely has the hottest wife ever.
I heard your dad just say that. That's fine. Where's your mom in all this? Is your mom a Democrat or a Republican?
A Republican.
So both your parents are Republicans. Is that fair to say? Okay.
Yes.
Now I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to give me an honest answer. Don't lie. How old are you?
13.
You see, Damon. Damon. That wasn't so hard, right? You were honest. You told the truth. Did your dad tell you to say you're 17?
Nope.
So why did you say you were 17? Why did you lie on the radio? I don't understand. 13. There's nothing wrong with 13. I'll take a call if you're 13. I don't care. You're a nice young man. Why did you lie?
Because I feel like it.
So now I know why your
so
dad.
you sound like now.
Wait
You
a
know,
second.
I like Donald
Now
Trump.
I know why your dad likes.
we get
Okay,
that.
put your dad on the phone, Damon. By the way, Damon, it was a pleasure speaking to you. Can you please put your dad on the phone?
Yes.
Thank you, Damon. Good job.
What is this?
Damon, now I understand why you like Donald Trump, because your son just lied on the air and said he was 17. You didn't stop him, did you, Damon?
Damon. You said
Damon, no, your son Damon just said he's 17 on the air. He lied. Why didn't you stop him and say, no, son, you should tell the truth? Now I know why you like Donald Trump, Damon. Or I'm sorry, Damon's father. I apologize.
I was actually driving. Not sure. I kept turning the radio up. I kept turning it off.
Well, listen, your son has a great future in radio. Eventually, he'll probably take my job, and I appreciate it that he called in.
Supporter, not defender.
But the only thing I would say in the future is let your son make his own decisions. Don't brainwash him with your right-wing propaganda. That's all I ask you, Damon's father.
Oh, no, he's the one that wanted to call you because you were talking a whole bunch of trash about Trump.
Nice.
Okay, I appreciate Damon's call. The lesson we learned today, please tell your son, don't do what Donald Trump does every day. Don't lie. That's can you
What do you think about the mainstream media with all the lies that they tell every single day?
I can't speak to the mainstream media. All I do is I don't lie every day.
They don't tell a lot of lies. They don't. In fact, they don't tell any.
You told him right today.
No, they don't.
I think it's not true.
Well, what? Okay,
Well-
so Damon, Damon's father. I apologize, sir. What's your name?
Hold on a second. First of all, today there were about 30,000 retweets of a picture that came from the Obama era of the border holding cells for the kids, okay? They said this is what Trump is doing to kids.
Okay.
It was all retweeted 30,000 times, and it wasn't even pictures from this era. It was pictures from the Obama era.
I can't speak for that. I can't speak for...
Why isn't Congress funding us so we can take care of these kids at the border?
Number one,
why isn't Congress doing this? Why isn't Congress doing that?
Number
it's
one,
100 different things.
Number one, I can't speak for retweets. If Kim Kardashian takes a half-naked picture of her body, we got about 1 billion retweets. So I'm not going to speak for I'm not going to speak for idiots.
And
that
last time I
retweet.
checked, Congress is both Republicans and Democrats,
Yes.
and the Republicans had control of everything up until
the Democrats don't want to do anything.
Listen. I think
we
it's
want to help these kids at the border. The Democrats want to use them as political pawns.
okay. Well, so you don't put any responsibility on the right.
Republicans don't. Yeah, Republicans don't have any responsibilities. What you're saying?
Everything that's going on right now happened under Obama, and even worse.
Okay.
All the holding cells you see,
Not true.
all the pictures you see on
that's
the
not true.
media,
Not true.
it's all
100%
from
not true.
Obama
That's
era
not.
pictures.
That's 100% not true. That's right-wing
It is
propaganda.
true. It's 100% true, and you know it.
No, it's not.
And
No, I
now
don't. It's not.
You're a part of
What
the
have I said?
fucking-
Excuse me.
What have
Excuse
you
me.
said
Now
that's
you're off
been
the air.
inaccurate or
Now
a
you're
lie?
off.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you just say the F word on the show? Did you just say the F word, Damon? Are you still there?
It's Damon's dad. That's not. That's
Or
not
Damon's father?
dad. Yeah.
Did we just lose him?
Yeah.
He just said the F word on the air in front of his 12-year-old. Wow, what a great example. So, okay, so here's what we've learned in that phone call, folks. Damon, I know you're listening to the show right now, Damon. Okay? Your dad is a buffoon, okay? Damon, I want you to look at your dad right now. Damon is, 13 years old? Your dad is a lying buffoon. So I want you to look at him, and when you go to school, say, my dad is a lying buffoon. My dad is a liar. My dad is a propagandist. That's what he is. My dad goes to InfoWars every day. All my dad does is watch Fox News every day, and he brainwashes me and my mom. That's what I want you to say to your dad right now. Okay, let me tell you something, Damon. You seem like a bright young man, okay? The problem is you listen to your dad. That's the issue that we're facing here. Damon, you're young. You're 13 years old. That's old enough to make your own rational decisions. And the problem is you're listening. Now, listen, when it comes to schoolwork, when it comes to, the birds and the bees, that sort of thing. I'm going to try to give your dad the benefit of the doubt when it comes to that stuff. When it comes to politics, your dad is the opposite end of the spectrum, Damon. He is just wrong.
I have to admit, Brian, things I did not expect to hear as I came into the show today was Brian Shapiro giving parental advice to our faithful listeners of the Vegas Take out there.
Yeah. Damon, repeat after me, okay? And this is before you go to sleep at night tonight when your dad or mom tucks you into bed. Here's what I want you to say, okay? And then I want you to call in and tell me how it goes. Before you go to bed, I want you to look at your dad and say, hey, Dad, Brian Shapiro from the Vegas Take said Donald Trump is a scumbag. That's what I want you to say. And then turn off the light, go to sleep, and I promise you, you'll feel better the next day. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back right after this. And I certainly want to get into some more interesting stories. Boy, we got a really interesting one when it comes to Cam Newton, and it involves a seat in an airplane. We're going to get to that. You're not going to believe who the World Series of Poker is considering inducting into the Poker Hall of Fame. Guys, this is disgusting. We'll get to those stories and much more when we take a quick break right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.